Hey guys, welcome back, and it's finally time to talk about KASHTIRA here in Master Duel. We will get it next week on Tuesday, and although we still not know which the limitations will be, I'm predicting a planet weight soft, so the field spell to search and to destroy basically with Shangri-Ira 2-1, though we cannot be super sure about it. I will make an update video if this changes, but I will also talk about what we could replace the Wraithsoft with if it gets hit to 1, which I think this will happen. We have the KASH Fenrir at 2, we will get the Theosis, the planet, also the, we have preparations as Big Bang. The Big Bang and the Scareclaw KASH, which we already have in deck here. So these are the news cards that we will get come next Tuesday, and yeah, I think the thing that will happen is field spell to 1, as they did with the Telemans field spell, because I think they will want to hit this beforehand, but I don't think that it will hit the search spell, the Theosis basically. I also don't think that they will hit something like Scareclaw KASHTIRA or maybe the Arisart, because they didn't do it in the OCG over there, though it's, as you can see here, forbidden in the TCG, but that's just a thing that has happened recently. We have to put out the Diablosis, of course, but let's look at it. We, of course, are playing, so this is basically a list that you can take for next Tuesday and play over in Master Duel, and I think be quite successful with it and reach Master 1 quite easily. This deck will probably be the strongest deck in the room, but also we'll have to find a way to deal with an Expo Lenoir, hence that's because the Herald of the Abyss is here in the side deck. Obviously we don't have a side deck, these are cards that you could consider putting in, but we will talk about this in a moment. So of course we are playing 2 Fenrirs and 3 Unicorns. Unicorns is your best starter, getting you into, if you don't have anything else in hand, Unicorn into Theosis, into Fenrir, searching your Rysart, then you can summon your Rysart. Then you can overlay your Unicorn and your Fenrir for your Shangri-Ira, and then you can use the Rysart effect to banish the new card KASHTIRA Big Bang, which allows you to, when banished, target one of your XYZs and then choose one of the materials under it and special summon it to hand or add it to field. So what you can do then, obviously your KASHTIRA Rysart will become level 7 then, as part of its own effect. You will have the Big Bang. And because something got banished by the Rysart, you will also have the effect of Shangri-Ira to lock a zone. So you will go chaining 1, lock a zone, chaining 2, Big Bang, or the other way around. Big Bang first, then Ira second. No, you would go Bang first, Shang second. What then would happen is that you will get the material under the Shangri-Ira back. You can either choose your Fenrir or your Unicorn. I would suggest choosing a Fenrir, because then you can special summon the Fenrir back to the field and then resummon another Unicorn on your opponent's next standby phase, because we only have 2 Fenrirs but we have 3 Unicorns, that's why. But don't you worry, I also will show you everything that I'm talking about right now in the combo tutorial that I will upload probably also next Tuesday. So then you can use or can make your KASHTIRA Rysart the new boss monster by just overlaying for KASHTIRA Rysart, because if you have used the effect of Shangri-Ira this turn, which we have locked a zone due to the vanishing effect of Rysart, then you can just overlay the KASHTIRA Rysart on 1 level 7 monster, as it reads there once per turn. You can also XYZ KASHTIRA Rysart by using 1 KASHTIRA monster you control. Sorry, not even a level 7 monster, that is, but we need to activate the Rysart's effect to activate the Shangri-Ira, to activate this first effect. But you could also overlay it on not a level 7, so you could also overlay it on a KASHTIRA Rysart, or KASHTIRA Rysart is only level 4. Of course, every other card is already level 7. And then let's just read it in case you didn't know what the card does. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This is what makes this deck super strong. This is what makes this boss monster pretty imbar, and that's the reason why this got banished. This is basically Macrocosmos like all the time. Will banish everything. This is basically shifter all the time, as long as this is on the field. Hence why people were playing stuff like books to just book this down and deactivate the effect of the KASHTIRA Rysart. But we will talk about books in a moment here. Once per chain, each time a card is banished, attach 1 banished card to this as material. So every time something is banished, which is basically always, so every time a card is used, let's for example say you have your Rysart, your opponent uses a Pot of Desires, this will get banished, and then your KASHTIRA Rysart will activate, being able to attach a material, which this is quite nice for stuff like the Infinite Red Goliath in your extra deck that you can banish via your Pot of Prosperity, and then you can, for example, protect your KASHTIRA Rysart by putting this under your Rysart as a material. This says an XYZ monster whose original type is machine, which this is, and has this card as material gains this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects. So this is basically your main first turn combo that you will do. You go Unicorn, search Theosis, Theosis, target Unicorn, so then you can special summon a KASHTIRA monster with a different attribute, summon Fenrir, Fenrir effect, search Rysart, Rysart effect, banish Big Bang, Big Bang 1, Shangri-Ira 2, Shangri-Ira lock a zone, Big Bang, take the Fenrir out from the Shangri-Ira back to hand, special summon it, and then you can overlay for your Rysart. There are also other options that allow you to get a KASHTIRA Rysart with 3 materials instead of 1 material curse. You can also read on the card once per turn quick effect, so your turn and your opponent's. You can detach 3 materials from this card, then target 1 card on the field and banish it face down, which once again will obviously trigger your Shangri-Ira, and then you can lock another zone. So you can see how this all works together. There are a few cool things that you can do with the Rysart if you have, for example, the Big Bang or the KASHTIRA Theosis under the Rysart as a material, which you can do. Remember that they will get banished, for example, if your Rysart is on the field, and then because a card got banished, you can then attach one. And if you attach this one, then you can obviously, if you detach it, then for the effect, once again activate this and do the same thing that we talked about before, where you can choose one of your XYZs and take one of the materials under it and take it either to the hand or special summon it. And if, for example, you get your KASHTIRA Theosis under your KASHTIRA Rysart and then you use the effect to detach 3 materials and the Theosis goes back into the banish pile, then this card reads. If that card is banished, you can target one of your banished KASHTIRA cards, which everyone will basically get banished all the time, and add it back to your hand. So you can see this is not like a super combo heavy deck. This is a mid-range / control deck where you will grind out your opponent and you have a lot of ways to reuse your resources and thereby winning the game in the long term. We will also get the Scareclaw KASHTIRA, which is not the most important card. You can also go without this. You don't need this card in this deck, and we are not quite sure which rarity this will be. This is just able to attack in defense position and is also able to deactivate effects of monsters that are battling with KASHTIRA monsters. But it is also just a level 7 body that you can pretty easily summon by banishing a KASHTIRA monster from grave or hand, and that's quite nice. Banishing is always a nice thing for the KASHTIRA cards, because if they get banished, as I just talked about, they have some bonus effects. Then we know the Rysart, that's already clear. We have the KASHTIRA Big Bang, the it's not even the most important effect, but the effect that you most often use, I just discussed here. But this also is a normal trap with the effect: if a KASHTIRA XYZ monster is on the field and the player controls 2 or more monsters, they must banish monsters they control face down, so they control only 1 monster. So in theory, this is just, you have your Shangri or your Rysart on the field, or your Shangri-Ira, have this Big Bang, and your opponent's, I don't know, summons 5 monsters, you activate this, and then he has to banish them all face down, so they only have 1, which this is a quite strong trap card. And then obviously we have the effect that I just talked about. And then we are getting the KASHTIRA Theosis, which says target 1 KASHTIRA monster. I just explained. You control special summon 1 KASHTIRA monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense position also for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except XYZs, which doesn't really matter. So this is a nice way you can search this with your Unicorn. This is why Unicorn wasn't that strong in the first iteration that we had here, because a Unicorn could only search the KASHTIRA above, KASHTIRA Theosis being the much better card. So now you can search Theosis and special summon an additional KASHTIRA monster, which then gets you into your Shangri-Ira / Rysart place. Then we have Pleasure Planet Gravesoft. When this card is activated, same as with the Tier Elements Planet, you can add 1 KASHTIRA monster from your deck to your hand. Monsters you control gain 100 attack def for each different attribute on the field. This can add up quite a lot, because as you can see, they are all different attributes here, the KASHTIRA main deck monsters, though not the Fenrir and the Scareclaw Kash. And then if a KASHTIRA Shangri-Ira you control activates an effect, so effect of KASHTIRA Shangri-Ira gets activated, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. So this is quite nice, but overall I would say this is weaker than was the Tier Planet. So maybe we won't even get this at 1, but I think this is a nice way to hit the consistency, because you can obviously go KASHTIRA, the Pressure Planet Gravesoft into Fenrir and then, or into Unicorn, then the rest that I just talked about. So this is basically 3 additional Fenrirs, so 3 additional starters. Though though you will also be able to start your combo with, I don't know, a Fenrir, for example, if you have a Theosis. But we will talk about this in the combo guide. We played triple Maxi, obviously triple Ashe. We will have to see how good Ashe is in the next format. I think it's quite nice against the Wraithsoft. Here you can Ashe the Wraithsoft effect, you can Ashe the Theosis effect. It's okay against Purely, I would say. I mean, okay, you can Ashe the My Friend Puri, for example. Yeah, I think it's fine. Obviously, you will play a triple Ashe because Maxi is in the game. You can play the 2 called by 1 crossout package here. I think the crossout especially makes a lot of sense. I think people will play a lot of Nibiru's here, and you definitely don't want to get hit by Nibiru, though there is also a way in which you can go or get to your KASHTIRA Arisat with 3 materials and only 4 summons. Sorry, with only 4 summons. But we will have to see how KASHTIRA players are adapting, and normally you would have a board with at least a Shangri Ira and a Rysart and then a Fenrir and a Unicorn on the field. So this is your basic board, but there is also a version 4 summons only KASHTIRA Rysart, which plays around Nip, but more to that later. Then I think it makes sense to play something like Kaijus or Lava Golems. You can also argue that you can put or should put books in here. Books might have the advantage over the Lava Golem. Just let me take this out quickly. Obviously, Lava Golem, if your opponent has a Rysart and then a Shangri Ira on the field, that's nice. You can just Lava Golem over them. But for example, the Eclipse or Book of Moon has the advantage. Or not the pot, either one of them, that you can obviously with this one book all of the KASHTIRA monsters, thereby making their effect useless, or with the Book of Moon you can flip down one special KASHTIRA monster. These are also not bad against Purely if they go for their Purely trap play, for the Purely Yeep play. Obviously if they make the Expo Lenoir on their turn, then you cannot really book that. In the future this will get better or become better against Purely when they get the new support card, but this is quite time off, I think. So we will have to see. I think for now running Kaijus or running Lava Golems is quite nice because they are also really nice against Purely. You can just Kaiju or Lava Golem, they're ex-Purely Noir, so I think playing this makes a lot of sense, either Lava Golems or Kaijus. We will have to see how this will work out in the end. You could also go for books. A lot of people were playing Forbidden Lands as a protective spell against books, for example. I don't think that in our meta this will be, this will really take an effect, because I don't see a lot of people playing books in their main deck, to be honest. I think people will rely more on Nips and Kaijus / Lava Golems, in my opinion. Then we are playing the pots here. They are very nice. In an optimal world, we would have a 3 Pot of Prosperity, because then this would enable us to banish our extra deck monsters, and thereby we could banish stuff like the Infinitrack Goliath and other stuff that we then can put, as I just talked about, under our KASHTIRA Rysart, so it gains some bonus effects. One card that we definitely can replace for the Diablosis that I just put out is the Garura, for example, but more to that in a moment when it comes to the extra deck. Then we are playing Shifters here. You will definitely have to take a look out and maybe count a bit when it comes to how many other KASHTIRA decks you are playing. If you're playing only KASHTIRA decks, then put the Shifters out, because obviously against KASHTIRA decks they are useless. If you play against other KASHTIRA decks, you can put the Shifters out and then put the books in, for example. Way more efficient. You could also put something like a Change of Heart in, so you can overtake their Rysart. You can put more triple tactics in, so once a Rysart has activated once, because keep in mind a Rysart's effect to attach something when something gets banished is a mandatory effect. They have to activate this, so they will activate this, and then you can triple tactic take the Rysart, for example. So if you're facing a lot of KASHTIRA opponents, then put out the Shifters and put in stuff like triple tactics, Change of Heart, the books, or maybe even more Kaijus / Lava Golems, Nibiru's if you don't have them already in your deck. So you can see these are somewhat flex spots. Triple tactics is definitely a nice card that you can also consider just putting 1, 2, or 3 in just in the main deck, just because it works. Because remember, your opponent will always, or you will always have the chance to trigger the opponent's Rysart, because you simply just have to play a card, the card will get banished, and then a Rysart's effect is already triggered. So triple tactics talents will be very nice in the upcoming format. So change this out depending on what you see. Obviously Imperm, just a nice card. I think this is one of the best cards in the game, because you can use it going first and going second. It's just amazing. Not playing Imperms in any deck is just baffles me sometimes. I think this card is just I don't know, it's just crazy. Then we have the Lava Golem here. This is a swap out spot. You can play Kaijus, for example, if you want to hit one specific monster. If a lot of KASHTIRA players are going for this only playing a Rise Hard line, then you would put out something like the Lava Golem and the Nip and put in stuff like more triple tactics talents and the Kaijus, maybe books, so you can then out them, or maybe a change of heart. I'm not quite sure if people will do that, because only having the Rise Hard on the endboard is not that strong, as I just counted a lot of options that you can use to out this card, and a lot of good options, right? Because putting triple tactics talents or maybe a change of heart in your deck, that's not bad. Those are useful cards in a lot of situations. Then with the extra deck, you can play 2 or 3 Arise Art. I don't think that you need 3 Arise Art. Because now with Diabolosis getting banned, your opponent will not be able to as consistently ban your extra deck as he would have been with the Diabolosis, though keep in mind Unicorn is still there. So 2 to 3, I think 2 are fine. Then you go 2 Shangri-Ira, this I think is a good ratio. You go 1 Zeus, then you can go double Big Eye, can put a Dark Armed in, because this is just a nice level 7 monster. This also, you can take opponents' monsters, you can take your opponents, I don't know, KASHTIRA Arise if he has already used the effect. Then something like the Goliath or the Garura to put under your KASHTIRA Arise, and if KASHTIRA Arise will ever go to the graveyard, for example, the Garura, if it was under the Arise, will also go to the graveyard and you can draw a card. Though, because we only have 1 of Pot of Prosperity and not 3 like in the TCG, you are not that, or will not be able to do that as consistently as it was possible in the TCG. We are playing 2 Pot of Desires because I think drawing is very important in this deck. This can be a bit bricky, especially if we will get this at 1. We don't have Terraforming also. Even with Terraforming and this at 3, this deck was kind of bricky, which is crazy, but it was. So having pots in here is quite nice, and you banishing cards from your main deck, that's alright for this deck, that works. And then, as I already talked about, Dark Armed Dragon, the Dragon of Annihilation, you can play something like the Mecha Phantom Beast Dracossack, which is an Ultra, unfortunately, but this is able to out Skill Drain, because obviously you can still activate effects under Skill Drain, and this will then leave the field. So the effect, or this card, is no longer affected by Skill Drain, and then you can destroy Skill Drain with this card. This can be quite important. And then you can also put in, if you have the Donner Dagger for hire, so that you can just pop and destroy a card. Another cool card is Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, which is basically like, how is this card called? Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon, I think. Cannot be destroyed by card effects while it has XYZ materials. That's quite nice, 2/8 attack, while this card has XYZ materials. Each time your opponent activates a card or effect, inflict 500 damage to your opponent immediately after it resolves. Keep in mind that the difference when it comes to this card in comparison to the Masquerade is that the damage that applies here will come after effect resolution. So for Masquerade, you need to pay the life points to even be able to activate the card. So if your opponent wants to activate the card that can destroy Masquerade, but he only has 600 life points left, then he can't activate it. In this case, with the Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, he could activate it, and if the dragon is then no longer on the field at resolution, then the life points will not be deducted from your opponent. And then let's talk about some other stuff you could put in here. We have talked about the change of heart. We can put another pot in here if you wanted to, though 3 Pot of Desires, that's kind of crass. You can also put in a KASHTIRA Rise Art, an additional one, though you only need 2 in my opinion. This is also not a combo starter, so you cannot go KASHTIRA Rise Art and then start your combo. Though keep in mind, if you have an Rise Art and let's say KASHTIRA Birth, you can go a Rise Art, banish Unicorn, and then use the Birth to revive it and then go into the rest of your combo. So might not be the worst idea. You can play the Ogre and the Preparations package. We will have to see how nice this is. I think this could be quite nice, especially if you end up playing against a lot of other KASHTIRA players, because this is a nice card in the grind game, as this allows you to do to make an additional special summon of one of your KASHTIRA monsters, same as with the Birth. So of course the Birth is one of the most important cards in the mirror grind game style, as is Preparations, and Ogre, obviously you use him to search the Preparations. So putting these 2 in, you could also consider putting them in over, I don't know, the 2-dimension shifters if you are facing a lot of other KASHTIRA players, or if you do not want to play the Nips, for example, or I don't know, the Imperms, for whatever reason you wouldn't want to play them, you could. Then there's also Enemy Controller, which is quite nice. You can just take over or take control of your opponent's Arise Heart, for example. That's quite nice. We have the Forbidden Lands, which you can use to protect your Arise Heart from stuff like Book. I don't think that's this will be necessary. You can play Dark Ruler no more, but this is also not that great against Purely. You can also put in Herald of the Abyss against Purely, pay 1500 life points and declare one monster type and attribute. Your opponent must send one face a monster with the declared type and attribute from their field to the graveyard if possible. So this also would out a single KASHTIRA Rysat. You can just play this card, and because a Rysat is the only card on the field, he then has to out this. Depends a bit on whether opponents will do this or not. One nice card that you could also consider that is quite nice against a lot of decks if you have room left and don't know what to put in there are dimensional barriers, of course. You can dimensional barrier the XYZs of KASHTIRA, though KASHTIRA's base monsters are still strong enough to be a big problem. It's not that effective against KASHTIRA, but it's obviously very nice against Purely. Them not being able to XYZ summon with their 100 attack cats. They can't do anything, and against other strategies as well, like Branded or Swordso that are definitely around on the ladder. We will have to see how many KASHTIRA players are they, but I think if I think back of the time when the first KASHTIRA pack came out, the one which, by the way, will leave the shop Tuesday. If you don't have the cards already, get them. But if I remember the time, a lot of people were playing the base KASHTIRA cards. A lot of people were playing these weird KASHTIRA decks with the Psy guy that could make himself level 7 and stuff, and this monkey guy that can special summon because it was level 7. So I think a lot of people picked up the KASHTIRA cards. I think we will have a meta in which we will have a lot of KASHTIRA mirrors. Think of the time when we had the Tier Elements meta, where full power Tier Elements was available and everybody was playing it, so you were always playing Tier Element mirrors. In terms of having a deck that really beats this deck or counters this deck, I don't think there is any deck that is really a hard counter to this deck. Of course, if you can establish an Purely Noir, that can be quite effective. Labyrinth also can get an advantage or gain advantage over this deck, especially if skill drain is up, though of course these boys here have a lot of attack. You will definitely have to manage your resources well if you are Labyrinth. Other than that, there is no real hard counter. This list you can take to the ladder on the first day. Something like this I will also take to the ladder. I think I will start with the D-Shifter here. Maybe put out the Lava Golem for another triple tag, though then I have nothing for the Purely Noir, which is definitely a problem. So I might just, I don't know, 2 Lava Golems, 2 Kaijus, I'm not quite sure. I like the triple tag now that I talked about it. I will start trying the Shifters here. Shifter is also not bad against Purely, because then they can't access their Lily graveyard plays, and if all the quick play spells go in the graveyard, that's bad. Go in the banished pile, that's bad for Purely, definitely. So I will start using the Shifters, but I think especially in the early days and weeks, a lot of people will play KASHTIRA, and you will need to put these out. Otherwise, you are at a crazy disadvantage, because you could run triple tactics over this, you could run books over this, and it is way better. You could run Lava Golems, Kaijus. Yeah, that's it for the list. Let me know in the comments what you think of the list, what you are planning to play, which cards are you planning to play in your KASHTIRA deck. As I said, something like this will be the list that my list will look like. I don't have a third Nibiru, so I'm not playing a third Nibiru. I don't craft a third Nibiru for this. It's not necessary, but yeah, something like this. Let me know in the comments what you think, what you are going to play. Will you play KASHTIRA, or do you hate the deck and will stay with another deck? Which one is it? Let me know in the comments. If you like my kind of videos, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, as this helps me out a lot, and we will see each other in the next one.